Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Box Office Talk. This is the show where I break down what happened at the box office, see if my predictions for the top 5 are correct, and then make predictions for next week's top 5. So let's get right on into it. Last week I predicted that number 1 would be Halloween, number 2 would be A Star is Born, number 3 would be Venom, number 4 would be Hunter Killer, and number 5 would be Johnny English Strikes Again. And I only got 3 out of 5 of my predictions right for this weekend, which is pretty good, but I definitely had too much confidence in the 2 new releases for this week. So let's go over what actually happened in the top 10. Number 1 was Halloween, making $31 million this weekend, adding to a domestic total of 126, and on the worldwide chart, it is sitting at 172. Right now, domestically, it is Blumhouse's third highest grossing film, and it only needs about 50 million or so more dollars to outgross both Split and Get Out to become Blumhouse's highest grossing film domestically. So that's very good for this film. Obviously, the second weekend gross has dropped a little bit, like over half compared to its opening weekend, but that's totally fine. Like, it's still making a ton of money, and it's already doubled, tripled, quadrupled its $10 million budget. It was made for a little less money than your average movie, so obviously it's doing quite fantastic right now. Moving on to number 2, we have A Star is Born, making $14 million, adding to a domestic total of $148 million, and on the worldwide chart, it is sitting at $254 million. Another film that is doing quite spectacularly at the box office. Even now, I don't really have much else to add on to it other than it seems like they have $46 million more dollars to go till it gets to $300 million worldwide, and I really hope that it gets there because it's a really special film that a lot of people can't stop talking about. Number 3, we have Venom, making $10 million, adding to a domestic total of $187 million, $13 million away from getting to $200 million domestically, which would be quite a milestone for it, and worldwide it is sitting at $508 million right now, so they've reached the $500 million margin for them, which is still very good, obviously. Like, whether you like it or not, you have to admit that this is a pretty good success for Sony. It's a much better hit than some of their other recent projects, including some of their Spider-Man films. So even though a lot of people didn't like this movie, you still had a lot of those fans that liked it and supported it and still are now. So it's made its money, and can't wait for that Sony Cinematic Universe! Moving on to number 4, another Sony product, Goosebumps 2, which is not doing as well as Venom. It only made $7 million this weekend, adding to a domestic total of $38 million, and on the worldwide chart, it is only sitting at $62 million. So it's only $8 million away from getting to the doubling point of its $35 million budget, which isn't too bad. Like, I can definitely see that happening. In fact, I think it will happen. Like, next weekend I'll be able to say that it reached 70 million worldwide or above that. But it's just a pretty big bummer that it's probably not going to make, like, about 100 million worldwide, which is probably where they should be at this point, especially if they wanted to move forward with a Goosebumps 3, like the ending of this film kind of hinted at. Number 5, we had Hunter Killer, still making it into the top 5, though it wasn't the exact prediction spot that I had hoped for. It made $6 million this weekend, and this is on a budget of $40 million, and since there are no worldwide numbers right now, I can only guarantee that this is going to be another flop under Gerard Butler's belt, which is kind of a shame, but at the same time, not too many people really knew or really cared about this movie to begin with, so it's not really that big of a shock, honestly. Sorry, Gerard, but it's not that big of a shock. Moving on to number 6, we have The Hate You Give, making $5 million, adding to a domestic total of $18 million, and on the worldwide chart, it is surprisingly only at $19 million right now, and this film really needs $46 million to be considered a success by doubling its budget, and it's not even really close to that right now, and I don't really I don't really see a future like Oscar campaign, like it gets nominated for Oscars and then it comes back to theaters or anything. I'm not really sure if they're going to do that, and I'm not sure if this film is really Oscar-worthy because I haven't seen it, but it's kind of a bummer that this movie that a lot of people seem to really like and are saying is really important isn't really making the money that it kind of needs. Moving on to number 7, we have First Man, making $4.8 million, adding to a domestic total of $37 million, and on the worldwide chart, it is only at $75 million. Another film that many people really liked, but for some reason, not everyone is going out to see it. Well, with First Man, I guess you could say that there's a big unnecessary controversy about it. So, I mean, that's pretty dumb if you ask me personally, but whatever, man. It's just a big shame that no one's really going out and trying to support this film as much as possible, because it is really one of this year's best, like on a filmmaking and acting standpoint alone. Number 8, we have Smallfoot, which for a while I thought was a flop, but this weekend actually turned it around. It made $4.7 million, adding to a domestic total of $72 million, and on the worldwide chart, it is sitting at $167 million. million. So they finally doubled their $80 million budget, and they've made $7 million over that. So technically, Smallfoot is a success. They doubled its budget worldwide. They made a little bit more than that. So congrats, Warner Brothers Animation. That actually is a couple $1,000s away from domestically outgrossing Storks, and like worldwide it's only like 20 million away from doing that. So this movie actually did manage to make a small bit of a success out of itself. So good job, apparently. Number 9, we have Night School, which made $3 million, adding to a domestic total of $71 million. And on the worldwide chart, it is sitting at 90, so it's $10 million away from getting to $100 million worldwide. I don't really have much else to say about this film other than congrats, Tiffany Haddish and Kevin Hart. And number 10, closing out the top 10, is actually mid-90s. The Jonah Hill film that's kind of in a limited release right now, I'm pretty sure, actually managed to get into the top 10. I'm not really sure what its budget is, but right now it has made $2 million. So since this is A24, I'm going to predict like maybe budget is like $5 million at the most. So this is actually not that bad of a start for itself. And since a lot of people are really loving this film and talking about it, obviously I think it'll make more money in the future as well. So this is actually a pretty good start for this indie film. Now, the film that I predicted for number 5 actually ended up at number 12. Johnny English strikes again, only making $1 million here in the States, but worldwide it is already sitting at $110 million, so this really isn't that disappointing to anyone who's a fan of Johnny English or anything. It still made a buttload of money worldwide. In America, it doesn't really matter how much money it makes, as proven with the other Johnny English films as well. So good job, Rowan Atkinson. Now it's time for the fun part, the predictions for next week's top 5. Number 1, I'm going with Bohemian Rhapsody. Number 2, The Nutcracker and the Four Realms. Number 3, Halloween. Number 4, Nobody's Fool. And number 5, A Star is Born. But what are your predictions for next week's top 5? Leave them in the comments below, and if you got your predictions right for this week, you're going to get a shout out right now. Unless you didn't get it right, then I'm sorry. And as always, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe. I'm Jackson Fulcher. See you guys next time.